Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to What's Up Wednesday. Today, I just wanted to talk about shiny object syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I've been involved in it, and maybe you're involved in it right now. And essentially, what shiny object syndrome is when you see these products that come along and promise you push button, viral traffic, and all you have to do is put your link in and boom, you're going to get instant traffic and you're going to get instant commissions. And somewhere in the back of your brain, you know that this is not true. And when you actually go through these products and realize that, some of them actually do work, but they're not going to give you hundreds of dollars a day like they say they're going to. So how the hell do you break this? Because I've been involved in this and I bought what seems like hundreds of products. Now, anyway, I've spent thousands of dollars on shiny objects and got nothing out of it. And so how do you break this cycle? Well, the way to break this cycle is, well, let me tell you a story first that might help. I live in Canada, and I'm sure you've all heard of the Vietnam War. And the Vietnam War, we're still trying to figure out why they were fighting this war, and no one benefited from it. In fact, I think over 4 million Vietnamese were killed, so it's an atrocity. But anyway, in the United States, and they were protesting at universities against this. And a very infamous incident happened at Kent State University in Ohio. In fact, there was a song written about it, Ohio, by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Very good song. I recommend, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. But essentially what happened was the governor of Ohio brought in the National Guard to squash student riots and protests, and they call them riots. And anyway, and they had live rounds in their guns, which was surprising. And 4 students were shot, and I think 8 people were injured. Anyway, it was an outrage because these people were just protesting against what they deemed as something that was unacceptable and a righteous cause, which is the premise of a free society, the right to protest. But along with that came a whole bunch of other undesirable groups, Marxists, who wanted to bring down society by any means necessary. And they were preaching that you had to dismantle the democratic society. And the way to do that is one of the ways is through violence. So they were preaching on the campus. And because people were very angry and weren't thinking straight, they started to believe these Marxists. And so the people in authority had to stand up and say, this is not the way we do it in a free society. We talk about it and we come to solutions. So anyway, somebody had to stop these Marxists from bringing down at least the campus, and, starting protests and perhaps riots throughout because there were riots going on in various parts of the country, and starting a revolution. And they didn't want that. So anyway, it took this one person on this campus to break this cycle, like a pattern interrupt, somebody to wake people up. And it just happened to be, I think, the assistant provost of the University of Kent State. He was a very short, 5'4" Japanese guy, soft-spoken. You wouldn't think that he'd be the guy to stand up, but sometimes the most unlikeliest of people become, arbiters of truth, or, we call them heroes. But anyway, so there was these Marxists driving around in cars with giant bullhorns on top of their cars, blurting out this propaganda, inciting people to violence. And he said, well, we can't have this. And so in the middle of this huge protest where everybody was very angry, this 5'4" guy jumps up on top of this car and rips this huge megaphone from the top of the car. And everybody stopped and were startled, like broke their cycle of anger. And he gave a great speech on how society needs to, discuss these items, these grievances, and, logically talk about them, and, continue to protest and continue to discuss and get the attention of the government, but not through violent means. And he was very persuasive and got them to listen. And, soon calm was restored. And eventually the government, actually 5 presidents fell because of the Vietnam War. And anyway, this guy went on to become a legislator in the Senate. So he was, he did some great things. So what has that got to do with affiliate marketing? Well, you need to break the cycle that you're in. You need a pattern interrupt. And for me, it was getting a mentor that got me to focus on one thing, told me to stop buying shiny objects and focus on this one specific way of doing things, and a few other things, a process. But in the beginning, just focus on one thing and don't buy any more shiny objects, and just work hard at it. And eventually it started to work, and I started to make some money, and now I'm starting to move on to some other things. But anyway, very thankful to have this mentor. And you may need to find somebody that's out there making money, and make sure they're legitimate and that they're going to give you time. There are courses, high-ticket courses, that will give you good information, but they don't support you. And you need support too, because it's hard to do this on your own. You need a group of, not just your mentor, but a group of other people doing the same thing. And once that happens, you're going to break that thought pattern. You need that 5'4" hero to blow away that thinking. So anyway, that's just my thoughts for this What's Up Wednesday. I've left a link in the description for a 6-part video course on how to one method that you can use to start making some money. It's going to require some work, and it'll keep you focused. But if you do that, you'll start to make some money. So anyway, that's it for this week. Stay tuned next week, and look for it in your inbox in the early evening, and I'll be sending out another What's Up Wednesday. Hope you have an awesome day.